Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Two Minds, One Podcast. My name's Raymond.
My name's Nathan. This is our second episode, so I hope you guys enjoy. We started off last time. Some topics we talked about were truths, beliefs, facts,
leadership.
Won't be the same every time, but just some interesting, stimulating conversation for you guys. I think today Raymond has a topic he wanted to talk about. We discussed this a little bit, but we'll discuss it more here. The JP Morgan scandal that happened recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
the how
this lady
you reminded me.
This lady supposedly stole.
Yeah, the JP Morgan said she
$175 billion or $1 million.
No, she not stole. She defrauded them.
Stole.
So she lied.
Same, but
she lied to JP Morgan. She boosted her subscription numbers on her company. Name Frank or something like that for education, right? Mm-hmm. It was to help people with their FAFSA filing, make it easier because you know how complicated that stuff is.
Yeah, filing papers for FAFSA specifically. It's not
It's annoying. You gotta go through.
It's a nicer process now because it remembers your login and stuff from personal information from last time.
Yeah, but
it's still like a good hour process if you're a student.
Especially
if you're first time, it's a 5 to 6 hour process if you're doing it by yourself first time with no guidance. But,
yeah. So essentially, what she did is what they say she got with her professor at college,
mm-hmm.
right? So the whole process, let me just restart. The whole process started when J. Morgan offered to buy her thing,
okay.
her company out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And give her a position at J. Morgan. Their offer was 170, or when it was, I don't know their initial offer because they didn't tell us, but essentially they agreed on $175 million to buy out the company plus a position at JP Morgan.
Okay.
But then came the fact of the due diligence, right? And when they asked for due diligence, because the main reason they were buying,
you want to go ahead and explain the due diligence to our
so yeah,
viewers?
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna get there right now. I'm gonna get there. So the majority of the reason they were buying it was because of the subscribers.
Mm-hmm. The
subscriber base, which is supposedly 4 million, is what she told you more.
That's a lot of information,
right? And they were trying to get into that field, the financial student field, right?
Yeah.
So they did the due diligence. He only had around, I think it was like 300,000 or 400,000. This is what the articles that I read told me. Okay, I can't say for a fact.
Yeah.
Right. And so then her VP, right? Was it the VP or someone head of networking or something came with an offer to the VP to buy the 4 million subscribers.
So they came up with the idea to purchase subscribers. Okay. As in
somebody no, not, I don't think it was bots. It was a subscription, like of actual information of subscribers from somewhere. I don't know. They didn't give the detail on that one.
Okay.
Then they rejected that idea, right? So then she went with her. Then she got in contact with her professor, the college, one of her professors, and they came up with an idea together to generate fake accounts to get up to the 4 million fake emails. Fake.
So they generated 4 million fake emails, passwords.
Over 3 million. That's of fake ones.
Insane.
And gave it to JP Morgan, and it passed the due diligence phase.
Okay. So then how did she get caught?
Okay. So it's funny how she got caught. So she paid a professor, according to she allegedly paid him $18,000 to do this.
Okay.
I'm
assuming some kind of computer science professor?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. Just makes sense.
Or a coding professor.
Yeah,
or something
computer
like
science,
that, right?
Software engineer, or something like that. Something of that field where you're going to generate hundreds of millions of.
So then they bought it. She got a position. JP Morgan, the VP got a position, and then this other gentleman, the director, I think he's the one that initially had the idea to buy the thing, right? Well, he ended up buying it anyways as a backup. Yeah. He paid $120,000 for 4 million subscribers. Mm-hmm. It was a legit 4 million subscriber base.
Okay.
They would have been off better using that, in my opinion.
Honestly.
But check it out. So then they go work at JP Morgan. So then JP Morgan does their stuff. They integrate their thing. Then they send out a small test campaign of emails,
like
to
email.
the subscribers to like get in contact with them and click on this thing because it's new. Like Frank, they're updating it and they're trying to link them with Chase, like make it easier, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So then
essentially they try to capitalize on their new
they wanted to start using
4
it.
million subscriber base.
Yeah, they wanted to start using it. So then 80%, something like 75 to 80% of those emails came back.
So
as rejected non-existent email accounts
because they didn't exist.
Yeah, something like that. And then the other ones were barely even opened.
So how do they know if the email is opened?
That one I did question. How do you know if an email got opened? I guess
I know text you can have read receipts.
No, but on emails you can't. But maybe
I know there's a way to get read receipts on email, but I thought that was
maybe it's the back end, the coding of the email.
Because I know there's a way to do. I don't know. I can't say no for sure.
Well, anyway, I don't know how they figure that out. Wow, that's something new to learn. Maybe we'll talk about it on the next podcast, on the next episode, next week, if we can figure out between now and then. But they figured that out. So then they did more due diligence. Now they investigated more, and they figured out that the majority of these are fake, non-existent, non-real names, non-like emails. Mm-hmm. And it was over.
Damn.
And that's when she got sued.
But like, why did she take the position at JP Morgan?
That's what I'm saying. Why would you take the position
if you know your stuff is fake? It's like, hey, I'm gonna lie to somebody's face, and then scam them out of a bunch of money, and then continue to work with them.
Right.
So it doesn't.
I don't know.
It doesn't
so
really
that's why I question: did she really do it?
Well, I mean, we can question if she really did it, but I think she might be going to jail for it regardless.
Oh yeah, I saw a YouTube video where they talked about that, right? And they said that people around her that knew her questionable said that she would do a lot of
shady things.
Not shady, in a sense. She'd stretch the truth too much, especially when she was first pushing her business, Frank, right? And a bunch of other businesses. She said, like, essentially they said that she lied on the very first business that made her, that got her the fame, that she lied about it. It didn't even exist. She didn't like actually help anybody create, I think it was like this nonprofit or something. She said she created, and a bunch of other people were involved with it, but it wasn't real, supposedly. And then they reached out to these people and these organizations and said, no, we never partnered with this. Right? Yeah. So that thing was right. Like I said, why would you take the position? You're like, you knew if she did it, right? Allegedly, if she did it, why would you take the position? You think you ain't gonna get caught? You think they're not gonna investigate your fake, like
your fake 4 million?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
or if you're gonna do 4, at least you're gonna do 4 million.
I think personally, I say
make 4 million fake email addresses.
If you're gonna lie, and you're gonna lie about something that big, stick with the lie. Right?
I mean, she did. She stuck
to it, but she didn't do it right. She never admitted to it. But she didn't do it right. Like, if you're gonna make a fake 4 million subscribers of emails, you should make a fake 4 million emails.
Yeah.
Because obviously they had fake 4 million names.
Or honestly, don't do that. Don't lie.
Like, obviously the right thing is to not scam people or not scam businesses out of millions of dollars and lie about your subscriber base, right?
You know.
But I mean, if you're gonna lie, do it right.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what you're saying, right? If you're gonna get caught,
do something, do it right. I don't know. We're not advocating for,
Yeah, I'm not saying, but
to go
and lie to people
and scam them out of money.
But that reminded me, like I was telling you, that it made me think about when I read that and said, she's going to jail, she got caught, she defrauded JP Morgan, right? 2 things came to mind. One, they did their due diligence.
Yeah.
So then if they did their due diligence.
And they signed the contract too.
right? We don't know the clauses that they put in the contract.
Obviously.
Right? But you did the due diligence technically after that, and you paid the money. It's no longer. It's your fault for falling for it. No.
I mean, yeah, but it also depends on the contract.
Right.
It could be stipulations.
Right. Like that's what I thought about. Right. But really, we don't know the stipulations.
That's you know what came to my mind. I don't know.
And then let me finish. The second thing that came to my mind was the Wells Fargo scandal.
It's the exact same thing that came to my mind.
Where Wells Fargo higher ups had pressured people and putting these crazy goals and tactics, and they started opening fake accounts under people's names, credit cards,
so for those of you that don't know,
accounts.
Wells Fargo back in like 2008, 2010, right after the housing market crash, Wells Fargo was telling and pushing their bank representatives, right, at their local banks, to their managers, to push their accountants, the people who work behind the counter, to push customers to open more credit cards, to open new bank accounts, right? Because they were trying to hit these essentially sales numbers and figures for accounts opened, and savings accounts opened, and debit cards account opened, and checkings accounts.
Well, it's a client base.
It's a client base, right? And
client.
So they're like, they were trying to verify. They wanted essentially a Wells Fargo customer to have not only a Wells Fargo checkings account, but a savings account, a credit card,
more services,
and a loan, right? Yeah. And they wanted to go through Wells Fargo, right? But the way they were doing it, right, the accountants were pressured into making fake accounts for hundreds.
Well, branches were pressured, and then the managers at those branches pressured the
yes. It started from the top.
The tellers and the people that open the accounts, right? It got crazy. They open credit cards. They use those credit cards to move money, to
fake
open
loans,
to open bank accounts. They open fake loans. They ruin people's credit because they had credit cards that they didn't even pay. Yeah, and at the end of the day, who went to jail? They fraud. They did massive scale fraud.
I think it was some number of like 500 million, dude.
No, they made billions.
Made billions?
They made billions of dollars with the B. I remember I watched a YouTube video on it. They made billions of dollars with the B. They got fined. The CEO didn't initially get...
They got slapped on the wrist.
Essentially, they got a slap. I remember the math. It was like...
But the only reason they got fined is because they got audited.
No, they got caught doing this. So then they got fined for the fraud. Right, but like the CEO just resigned. They're under the top, right? Nobody went to jail. None of the higher ups went to jail. I didn't see anybody go to jail, but they got fined. I think it was a whopping 2% of the billions of dollars they made. They gave
out a settlement of like 180 million or something like that.
No, it was like 200 and I think it was like 250 million.
But still, they made billions.
It was a lot of money, or 500 million. We'd have to verify that, but it was essentially a slap on the wrist. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fine you $500 million, but I'm gonna make a couple 3-4 billion.
I've noticed that big business tends to have that impunity to be able to do things like that and go, oh, that's our bad. Sorry, here's we'll pay the fine and we'll pay reparations, but no real legal action will be done or change or ramifications.
Yeah, but that was fraud. That was fraud and identity theft.
Yeah, it was fraud, identity theft. They ruined people's lives. People's lives were ruined. So imagine walking in thinking you have all your loans, all your ducks in a row, and you come to realize you check your credit and your credit score was 700. It's 560 now.
You go to buy a car and now your credit's 500 because you have late payments on a credit card you don't even know you opened,
or a loan that you didn't even know you opened.
Yeah,
that you don't have access to. None of that got forgiven. All of that was still affecting people's lives. So
it was crazy.
It's crazy. You know what else reminds me of?
What?
Speaking of the 2008 financial crisis.
What?
Right? Uh-huh. Just how many banks got away scot-free with just ruining people's livelihoods. And
you mean the
subprime mortgage loans?
Yeah, how they got away with it, and then they blamed it on... Who did they blame it on again?
They always blame it on the lower class.
No, they did, but they blamed it on a specific class, like a specific
demographic.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I have to look.
I don't remember, but I do remember.
They did blame it, and they're like, "Oh, it's their fault for coming in this and like messing it up and all this." I was like,
I do know that
that was pretty bad. It was pretty. It's
the second worst financial crisis the United States has ever seen. That financial crisis was so large it affected the world.
It affected the world because it was so intertwined. I mean,
because the world economy is
you're
so.
Talking about investors from all over the world that have money want to buy investments
in American real estate.
They buy mortgage bonds and mortgage-backed securities, and if those mortgage-backed securities are backed by shitty loans,
you have a bunch of subprime mortgage loans that are a bunch of shit, but you're packaging them and selling them to customers as AAA rated,
this
securities.
Reminds me of the leadership that we talked about in the last podcast, right?
What about it?
How it feels like it is the leader's responsibility.
Give me 1 second, though. If you guys haven't seen The Big Short as a movie, highly recommend you go watch it. If the 2008 financial crisis affected you or you're interested to learn more, the film The Big Short does a really interesting and pretty good job of explaining what happened with the financial crisis, what a subprime mortgage loan is, and why the domino effect that happened that was, the 2008 financial crisis. But yeah, sorry about that.
No, it reminded me because as a leader, you gotta respect and you gotta treat everybody equally. Maybe not sent equally, maybe like with respect, right? And those leaders they let the greed get to them, right? Like they let the greed of
I wouldn't consider those leaders. I wouldn't consider them leaders.
They were in leadership positions,
but they were just the people in charge, and
right. Yeah, that reminded me because this week I was reading the next chapter in Leadership Gold, and he talked about how the hardest person to lead, or the hardest thing about leadership is leading yourself. Because we as people, there's nobody to keep you accountable other than technically yourself.
No, for things 100%.
That it's easy to say, oh no, it's okay, I'm this way because X, Y, and Z.
It's easy to make excuses for yourself. It's really difficult to hold yourself accountable to a standard that you set.
Yeah, and it's easy to slack off on that too, right? And I'm pretty sure these guys didn't all start like that. I'm sure. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, sure. Don't get me wrong. Some people started out with this.
I'm sure the people who did all these deals for the subprime mortgage loans did not do them with the initial intent to, ruin the economy, or they just didn't understand the full magnitude of the situation, and they understood that they were good loans, or they're people doing their job, right? Which what they think, and trying to do well at their job.
The subprime, right? It got really bad because they started. The rules got slack. They were slack around the mortgage, the banking.
They weren't even checking your credit.
That's what I'm saying. They weren't checking
variable payment.
Income.
They variable weren't checking interest rate loans. They give you an interest rate for the first year of 0.9%, and then after that it jump up to 4%. So now your payment goes from $1,200 to $2,000 or $1,800 to $2,000. Mm-hmm. And so someone who could barely afford a $1,500 payment is not going to be able to afford after 1 year just a drastic increase of $200-$300 a month on the mortgage.
Well, so that was the thing. That was the big thing, was the bank stopped checking income. They stopped verifying income. They started verifying anything, credit. Like, they were just like, yeah, you want a house? You got it.
Well, because everybody deserves a home, according to the, I forgot which Bush administration decree it was, or decree mm-hmm. was that,
that lacks the banking industry regulations. Yeah. But I feel like that happens every time you relax the banking industry rules. And it's like, but that starts at the top. That starts at who makes the decision for the bank, right? The board of directors, like people at the top, right? They say, are we going to allow people?
Well, I don't think it's inherently the board of directors that makes the decision. We'd have to do a little more research into that. But the board of directors definitely pushes the agenda. And their agenda as the board of directors is to appease their shareholders. And their shareholders, all they care about is growth and profit.
Mm-hmm.
Year over year, growth in profit. If stock price doesn't increase year over year, they're not doing their job, right? Stagnation is failure, right? But I do think there is, if I remember correctly, I can't remember the name. It's the decree within the United States and the banking system, the people who set the interest rates, the Fed.
The Federal Reserve.
The Fed sets the interest rates.
Yeah.
Right? And so they decree and they allow for these loopholed subprime mortgage loans to, be a thing.
No, I don't think they allowed the subprime. They were subprime because they didn't check income. They didn't verify credit. They didn't do any due diligence to verify that this person can actually afford said payment.
Yes.
Right? And where does your basis to you to loan out money come from? As a business, it comes from the decision maker, the leader who's in charge of that organization. They decide if we're going to let this slide or not.
Okay, so you're saying if it starts at the top and funnels down towards for example, your underwriter.
Yeah, because somebody's going to find out. If an underwriter decides to start letting people slide under there without, right, and the whole underwriting department all of a sudden just decides to not check due diligence, none of that. They don't even ask it on the application. I mean, that's from the top. That's not. That was about the money. They didn't care.
Exactly.
They didn't.
That's exactly what we talked about. It's about the money.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another thing, and nobody went to jail. Yeah, that did ruin a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, nobody went to jail for that.
That did ruin a lot of people's lives.
It made everybody's life. It made an entire generation's life difficult. Yeah. Significantly more difficult.
Then that reminds me of the bailouts afterwards.
Oh, we'll get started about the bailouts, too.
I mean, the bailouts were wild.
What round of bailouts you want to talk about. But yeah, it gave millennials such a significant disadvantage going into the working force. So many people couldn't get jobs because they had no experience. And they had no experience because they couldn't get jobs.
Yeah, so there was no companies to hire them either.
Exactly. Right? But yeah, you were saying?
About the, what was I saying?
The bailouts.
The bailouts. And the bailouts, I feel it's changing subject a little bit.
Still the same subject.
We don't really live in a capitalist society. We're not in a true free market capitalism. It's not a true free market.
We've known that for years, though. True free market would allow true monopolies to come out of the fold
and no, I mean true free market too. That would happen.
That eventually that's what's going to happen because there's no rules.
Yeah.
Or regulations.
But that's not regulated. You can have free market with some regulations. What I mean in the sense
that's not a true free market then.
No, what I mean is
what we mean by true free market is one without regulations.
Yeah, but that's a free market. I'm talking about capitalism. Like you need capitalism, but you need it with some regulations. What you don't need is the government coming in and saving these businesses because they're too big to fail, and it's gonna
adversely affect the economy.
Yeah, it's gonna tank it. It's like at that point, if I was a government, right? An example, your parents were the government, and they bailed you out. They're just telling you, once you get to a certain point, you don't gotta worry about failing.
Daddy's money.
You don't gotta worry about failing because the government will be there to bail you out because you're too big to fail.
Yeah, right? I agree that no institution should be so large and generate so much revenue or hold so much capital that it's considered too big to fail for a country.
Even if it is too big, if it fails, it should be let to fail. In my opinion, you should let it fail.
Okay.
Because it wasn't run. Okay. And I know that devastates the economy. I 100% understand.
Do you understand the ramification of what you're saying?
Yeah, but hear me out. Instead of the government intervening and bailing out the company, why don't they bail out the employees? The people that company is going to be fired at.
Then you're going to
They mismanage money. You're going to give them more money to mismanage?
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? If you give money to these people, that creates new people.
When you do nothing,
right?
You get what happened back in, the crash of 1920.
Look at
right? The Great Depression.
Look at the one before that one. The first Great Depression.
There's only been one Great Depression.
No, yeah, but they don't call it the Great Depression. It's the pseudo Great Depression. It happened before the one in 1922. What is it? 1924. The real Great Depression. 1920s.
I don't know.
Well, there's one before that, and the government did nothing. Right. But it was right after they initiated manipulating the interest rates and stuff like that.
I don't know the one you're talking about, but
yeah, I just saw a YouTube video on it. From
like 1901?
No, it was just like 1918 or something like that. I have to verify the facts. I'm not
1918 is within the
right.
It's
no, but it happened shortly. It was like a depression that happened right before the Great Depression. The Great Depression is the first time the government intervened into helping the economy. The first depression that happened before that, they didn't intervene, and it recovered pretty quickly on its own.
I wouldn't say it recovered pretty quickly because that. Okay,
we're not talking about the Great Depression. I'm not talking about the Great Depression. That one lasted a long time.
Hear me out. I'm not denying your claim. Mm-hmm. Right? If this pre-depression to the Great Depression, if it happened, you're saying it happened, so I believe that you're saying it happened. Obviously, they didn't recover because it succeeded. It was before the Great Depression.
No.
So when you could argue that it just helped,
Depression.
You can argue that it just helped lead into the Great Depression.
No, it didn't.
So it's like the initial landslide when you're like, oh dang, that was bad, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna get better again, and then no, it gets significantly significantly
so
worse.
You didn't have a double fall. It was a fall in the economy. It recovered and spiked high, and the government started printing money again to spend. Back when it was still on the gold on the Brixton standard, right? The gold standard. Started printing that money and it printed too much money. And then it had to take it back. Right? You had to get money out of the economy. Then it tanked. Then you got the Great Depression. It was horrible.
The Great Depression happened not because it printed too much money, but it happened because so many banks failed at the same time.
Because there were so much money in the economy and they were handing it out.
Because of the way our banking system works, it's fractionalized banking.
Yes, right? And so then when you got a drought or you got something that happened, people wanted their money.
Yeah. This is before your money was FDIC insured, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
that's what I'm saying. I understand. Personally, I do understand that if you do nothing, right? If you do nothing, then they're going to fail. Right? And then it's going to hurt a lot of people because they're going to lose their jobs. They're going to not be able to make payments. Like, right?
Look.
But it'll bring up the companies that were set. It also gives the opportunity for the new ones to come up that are in the same industry. Right? Another example is the airlines in 2020. Most of them got bailed out.
Yeah.
Also, with our taxpayer dollars. Why? Okay, I
get you. But how long is it gonna take for you another airline to fucking?
No, there is smaller airlines. There's Sprint, there's Frontier.
Hear me out. How long is it gonna take at a smaller airline to get to the level of a Delta?
They'll never get there with Delta being there. You know what I'm saying? But Delta's not one of the ones that got a bailout.
I'm not saying they're gonna.
They prepared, right? They didn't spend all their money on stock buybacks, right?
Yeah.
They prepared. They prepared for something, right? You had your airlines that had the bailouts. Which American Airlines is one of them, if I remember, and United, if I remember correctly. If they're out of the picture, their customers got to go somewhere. Sure, a majority will go to the other name brand airlines, right?
Yeah.
Southwest, you got Delta. Alaska Airlines is becoming pretty big too, but you have JetBlue, right? You have Sprint.
Yeah.
It's Spirit. My bad, I'm pronouncing that wrong. Spirit. You have Frontier, right?
Yeah.
Right, and all these airlines have only gotten bigger because they've been bought out. Like the last up and coming airline, I would say would be JetBlue, right?
Virgin.
Well, other than Virgin, but Virgin's now almost a big name. Like they're like
Virgin is a big name,
right? Yeah. No, they're not a big name. They're a big name, but they're not like in the big name that I'm talking about. They're a big name, right? But they're not Delta.
I never said they're a big name in
right? But they're the Virgin and JetBlue would be the last two newest airlines to even get close to that big name, right? To get a decent sized market share, right? But the market share is only the market share. And what I'm saying is if we let those fail, those customers, those employees would have gone, majority of them, to the other airlines, the smaller ones that are up and coming. There's other airlines that you haven't even heard of that I heard of because I researched a flight. There's an airline, I forgot, it was super cheap, and there's this guy that I was riding a Delta to fly to Salt Lake City, right? To check out the trailers. Mm-hmm. He told me about it, and he usually flies with this other airline that's just based at, like, they fly at a couple airports just out of Salt Lake City and LAX. And it was like Brim or something like that. The colors are purple, and they were charging $50. $50 to fly Salt Lake to LAX, and another $50 back, and it was always $50. But they only had like 2 or 3 times that they flew because they didn't have that many.
Very scheduled,
right? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Those airlines, it's harder. It's harder now for them without an insane amount of capital and marketing to take market share from the big ones, right? Because they're so big, they're too big to fail.
I get where you're coming from.
You know what I mean? And if we would have let airlines fail or banks fail, small regional banks would have taken those employees in because they would need to grow. That money that's not there needed to go somewhere, right?
Look, I understand what you're saying. That is one possibility of what would happen. But we're not, you're not.
No, it's gonna. No, I understand.
Listen, let me finish. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that I do understand what you're saying. I'm saying that it is 100% possibility. It's 100% possibility that it doesn't happen, and people just get fucked too.
Oh yeah, there's a possibility that people get ruined.
Yeah, that's always that possibility too, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand where you're coming from, right? Okay. But we don't know what would have happened. We know what the trend is and what could happen, right? Yes. But I do agree with you that there shouldn't be businesses so large that they're considered too big to fail. Speaking of failing banks, the Silicon Valley Bank that failed recently. Yeah. Right? Not because it was really doing anything crazy, but just because...
Oh, a misinformation?
Yeah.
Or like a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding, yeah. They did a bank run on the bank, and everybody tried to pull out their capital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the misunderstanding. I read about that. But let me get back to the airline. I understand that it's going to cause trouble, right? And even if it, and I'm fine with the government intervening. I'm not fine with them bailing out the business with our taxpayer dollars. Okay, I would personally bail out the employees. I'm 100% okay with here's some money to cover you for a couple months. I mean, they give them billions of dollars. You don't think the billions of dollars would have helped out the employees?
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but now do you really think that our government, our capitalistic government that is so against communism...
capitalism.
No, they claim to be capitalist.
Yeah.
Is so against communism that they're going to willingly just give people money for free as a bailout? No.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they would do that. What I'm saying is what I would have preferred, and I think would be the better option.
Yeah, Obviously, in my opinion, what you think the better option is, but like speaking,
let the business fail because they didn't plan, or they didn't prepare, have a rainy day fund, or anything, right? Bail out the employees so they have a couple months. I'm not talking about giving them a year's worth.
No, okay, I understand. I'm talking,
and it'd be cheaper for us, anyways.
Listen, I understand what you're saying. I understand. I'm not saying your idea is wrong. I'm just saying that.
I know you're stating the fact that the government wouldn't do that because we know the government wouldn't do that. They're lobbied by those big businesses, exactly, which is why the big business gets bailed out.
Exactly. So
it's the saying that we profit, we do the rewards, and we get the reward. But when we mess up, we share the mess up with everybody.
Yeah.
We pass it along. That's what happened.
Yeah.
You know? That's what I mean. But, I mean, like, lobbying, they're not going to do it. They're getting paid out of those pockets. They're going to keep them. Right?
Yeah, we're one of the only countries that still allows lobbying in our democratic system. So, go figure. Wonder why, people serve as a, board director or a chief administrator at a company for 5 to 10 years. And then, oh, looky here. Wonder how they ended up director of finance, or other big, members of government issues, or, speaking of which, reminds me of BlackRock.
Like new BlackRock? What's going on with BlackRock right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm not. No, what do you got to talk about?
First of all, BlackRock is a ginormous organization. And it was also the organization that the U.S. government brought in to help bail out and decide who's going to get bailed out for this last round of bailouts that happened.
The 2020?
2020.
The airlines and all that?
They were also the same corporation
Really?
that got brought in. The first time they got brought in was actually during the 2008 financial crisis. They were the company that the government went to and was like, hey, we have billions of dollars of bailout that we're going to do, but we don't know what companies need to be bailed out, And so BlackRock being a shareholding company, essentially investment firm, did happen to pick, some that are of mutual interest to them.
You mean,
but also
you mean ones they hold shares in?
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, obvious.
And so, interestingly enough, right, BlackRock has been there controlling who gets the bailouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the most recent thing with BlackRock is the United States has claimed to help Ukraine in the rebuilding of Ukraine after the war is done, in their war efforts, right?
Yeah.
And guess who they hired to help them design the plan?
Oh, yeah.
And
I
pay
heard about that one. BlackRock.
BlackRock.
Yeah. And now it's going to bring in American companies into Ukraine.
And now they're going to have
a
whole new market, a whole new demographic to, set up the United States capitalistic style, But yeah, BlackRock is a ginormous company, which is really interesting because only recently has it been gaining traction.
Well, it was like a company that was big, but nobody really knew about it. Its name wasn't out there.
Well, yeah, there's
now it's out there because they're having problems with investors in the commercial real estate.
Yes,
because now after 2020, the big remote jobs it's big. And they noticed, a lot of companies noticed their employees were more efficient. Or more productive.
Or just equally as productive.
Yeah, and now the company gets to save on spending a lease on a commercial building.
Giant commercial building. You have to pay a janitor to clean.
So now
you don't have to pay a staff to, run a kitchen or run a, you don't have to really pay for Wi-Fi. And if you do, you just pay a smaller commission fee to your employee than the amount. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You live at home.
You give them a
hotspot.
No, yeah, or you pay a bonus for using home Wi-Fi internet or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is cheaper than commercial Wi-Fi.
Commercial Wi-Fi. Right.
Yeah, and so now they're having that problem because nobody's renewing their lease. Even our aunt, she works from home now, right?
Yeah.
Her where she works at, her company, they're just waiting for the lease to expire. They're subleasing, and then they're just waiting for the end. They're not gonna renew.
Yeah, because there's no point.
And so that's humongous, and it's mostly in the office commercial buildings.
Yeah, and your traditional
not warehouse.
Office space.
Like warehouse commercial buildings.
We're talking like your traditional big office spaces, like you go to office and you work and you have your cubicle, and you do your work, and majority of your work is on the computer.
I mean, not a cubicle, but you have an office. right? Like an office building.
Cubicles is what office buildings really are, man. Like,
I mean, that's a stereotypical, like, what we think of.
Well, yeah, that's what everybody thinks
Right?
of, right? You ever seen The
But that's from
Incredibles?
movies.
You seen The Incredibles, man?
Yeah,
that's
but
what
that's
office
what-
looks like, dude. Mr. Incredible sitting there in his office, you know, this little fucking... Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from YouTube. Or from movies, I mean. Got it from movies. Yeah, I saw about that one.
Yeah, it's also interesting how that's one of the few, I guess, good / better things for people that came out of COVID, which was, you know, everybody had to work from home because of the, you know, the restrictions that were in place, right? And they expected, you know, companies were really tentative to want people to work from home until they realized that, you know, productivity doesn't really dwindle. In areas where your workers are manual labor, like in a warehouse, right? And all of the transportation and the supply chain, like all of that was adversely affected 100%.
Oh, no, 2020 was bad.
It's still bad. The supply chain is still bad. Right? We try to order
horrible.
We try to order a replacement part. It's like a year lead time.
Yeah.
Which is insane, right? Because there's ships lined up at the dock to get unloaded, and there's not enough dock workers to be working full time.
Well, I mean, you got inspections. You have
there's all bunch of
so
paperwork
much.
that bogs it down to makes it
No,
slower.
not so much the paperwork. It's inspections you have to go through.
It's paperwork, bro.
It's not
inspections. It's product. It's steps that need to get done and, you know, written off and
yeah. But if you have
stamped
people,
off.
if you have the staff, paperwork moves smoothly, like works quickly, right?
Smoothly, not really quickly.
Yeah, but smoothly.
Have you seen the way our government works?
Right?
I don't think anything works really.
Yeah, but our government's
fast.
archaic in a way. They do
Yeah.
a lot of things. American government's archaic.
Yeah, they have two parties fighting for a champion, but neither here nor there.
So, everyone meet back to the bailout. Look at Ford. Ford didn't get a bailout, right? They're one of the companies that got no bailout.
Yeah,
And look at them now.
they're fine.
They're fine. They made it. I mean, they struggled.
They
almost
struggled
did
and they-
bankrupt.
They did
But
almost
they
file
made
for
it through.
bankruptcy.
You know, they made it through. So that's another good one. I did want to talk about today on my run yesterday.
What's up, man?
So yesterday on my run, I'm coming on the way back home, right? And I'm running at night, dude. Like it's like 10 p.m. almost. Right?
Get chased by a dog like I did?
No, that would be hilarious though.
Coyotes, huh?
Yeah, no, I didn't get chased by anything. I actually got stopped by this woman. I was
Did she
listening,
touch you?
and I didn't.
Did she hurt you? Show me
no.
where she touched you.
No,
It's okay. This is a safe space.
No. She asked me if she used my phone, right, to call somebody to get a ride.
Okay.
Well, anyway, she calls somebody, doesn't go through, or it goes through, but it's the wrong person, and they don't want to come pick her up.
Okay.
So then she tries finding the phone number. She can't really find it, so she asked me for a ride. Right in the middle of my run. It's probably like a mile from my house. On my last mile.
Was
right?
she walking?
No, she was sitting on the driveway. She was standing there.
So like she had exited somebody's house and
I don't know.
needed a ride home?
Well, okay, so I'll get to that. She got there by Uber.
Okay.
I gave her a ride home.
Okay,
I'm not,
it sounded like you gave her a ride home.
I'm not heartless. All
Okay.
right? She jogged with me, walk, the rest of the way home.
Made her work for the ride home, dude.
Right? She was like, I'll go. I was like, no, you can wait. She's like, no, I don't want to wait here.
Okay.
I was like, okay. Right? So she jog walked, right? She had a big old bag. And I grabbed the bag. I was like, let me carry the bag. I'll run with the bag. And you can run. So I get home.
You know what's in the bag? Clothes?
Looked like clothes. I didn't look at it. Everything that's in there. I mean, it's at nighttime, dude. It's dark. So I get home. I grab my keys. I take my backpack off. Right? I grab my wallet. Get in the car and we go take her. And she had told me, oh no, I'm close by. She was in Moreno Beach Drive.
That's all in Moreno Valley.
In Moreno Valley. Not close by. Not close. It's 15 miles at least, right?
Plenty, dude.
So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll take it. That's not, like, I'm not heartless, and my dad raised me to be. Right?
No, yeah.
Raised me to be a good person. I'm gonna give it right. It don't matter if it's 20 miles, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So she was there to keep him company.
To keep who company?
Somebody company at the house. But they never answered. Left, according to her, they left her outside for half an hour. So then she went to get a ride home. Right? She wanted to go home.
Okay.
I brought the topic up because it's crazy. She asked me a bunch of questions, right? And like life questions. She asked me like, how old I was. She thought I was 24.
Man, it's good for you, man. Right? You look young. You look good. You know.
She thought I was 24, and then she was surprised when I was 32. And I'm 32. She was like, "Man, you're older than me." I'm like, "Yeah." So she ended up being 24, right? Okay, I'm not gonna say her name, right? Obviously, that's her business.
Yeah.
But I gave her a ride home, and on the ride, she asked me about like if my parents are still alive, and right, if my brothers or if I have brothers, younger brothers, if we get along, and all this other stuff. And it was crazy because it sounded like her with her family, they don't get along that well or something.
Yeah. Was she just surprised by your situation?
No, she wasn't surprised. She was just like talkative.
Okay.
Right. Just talking. She mentioned that her brother had died. Like when she asked me how many siblings I had, I told her how many siblings I had, and then I asked her how many siblings do you have. She has a younger sister, an older sister, and an older brother. Okay. She made it seem, I got the vibe, or that they don't really talk between the siblings. Okay.
Pretty common, actually, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's really sad. But her brother died, I think it was like a couple weeks ago.
Damn.
Yeah, it was sad. I was like, man, I'm so sorry. And then she was right at, like, but like she went through it quickly. She said, yeah, I have a brother, but he died a couple weeks ago, and my mom died like 2 months ago. I was like, whoa, I'm so sorry to hear that. Sounds like she's
having a rough time.
Yeah. And
my condolences go out to her.
Yeah, it was sad. She was like, no, I'm all right. I didn't really talk to him that much, or we weren't that close. Something along the lines. And it just reminds you that not everybody lives in the same. Like, it reminded, like, I knew those things happen, right? I knew we used to live, like,
gives you perspective.
I used to talk to a lot of people like that, right? And her choice of work, right? Keeping people company.
Yeah.
And it seemed a little traumatized. It was not, I don't want to say the word ghetto, but like, I guess it would be the word. Or I don't know if there's another word, right? Like,
lower income.
Yeah, but that gangster-ish, like hoodlum area, like hanging out with, right? Like, I know a lot of people like that. Not anymore, right? Because like I've been wanting to grow, and be more successful. I have dreams, right? And I want to reach those dreams.
What's the saying? You want to see where you'll be in 10 years? Look at the people around you.
Yeah.
You are who you hang out with.
Exactly. You are the 5 people closest to you.
Yeah. You want to be successful. So you need to be hanging out with people that are more successful than you. Stuff.
Like, she asked me about how I got my wife, how I met my wife, how old my kid was and stuff like that. I don't know if she was I don't even know if she was embarrassed or home. She asked me to drop her off at Walmart in Myrtle Beach Drive at first. Then she backed down and was like, never mind. She said, can you just take me all the way home? I was like, yeah. I was like, I already said I'll take you all the way home. I don't know why you want me to drop you off at Walmart.
Yeah.
But I made a comment that she lives in Moreno Beach or in Moreno Valley. Mm-hmm. That's not close by. Mm-hmm. Right? I was like, that's a decent drive. And her response, and I was just making the comment. Her response was hey, That's not really close. Like,
But whatever.
It's pretty, like, it's crazy. You're out here.
And you're like, yeah, that's wild.
20 miles.
Yeah.
Right? So, I was like, man, that's wild. I don't want to consider that close. I knew you lied to me to tell me that it was close so you get the ride.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to lie to me. You just tell me the truth, right? But her response, she quickly was like, yeah, and? Like, but, like, not in a horrible way. Not like, yeah, and? More like, yeah, and? Very flirtatious was the vibe I was getting. She offered me favors. She was like, what, you want me to do? Give you some favors? I said, no. I'm not. I'm just mentioning that you didn't have to lie. All right?
Like, yeah,
you didn't have to say that it's close by because it ain't close by.
Yeah.
20 miles to me isn't far. I don't consider it far in the sense I know that in mileage it is because it's a decent drive.
20 miles ain't far, man. I don't know.
No, what I'm saying is
telling you 20
I don't
miles
consider
is
it far.
For some people who consider 20 miles far.
We come from the transportation, right?
Like, 20 miles is 20-minute drive. Like,
so
far as anything greater than an hour.
And that gave me another hint of, right, like the life. People must ask for that. The people she hangs out with, the people she gets to ride with, she expects, and it feels horrible.
Yeah.
Right. And she asked me, why are you running? Why are you exercising in the middle of the night? Because I had my backpack, my water,
the
water backpack,
the
camelback,
yeah,
right. She goes, why are you running? I was like, well, I'm running for a marathon.
Yeah.
Right, I'm training for a half marathon. Right. She goes, okay, but why? Why do you do this? Like, why do you do this to yourself?
Asking, like, questioning, like, why choose running? Like,
yeah, like, why choose this pain? Essentially, that's the vibe I go. Why choose the pain of running?
Yeah, because, running, it's not inherently hard, but it is.
No. So I did have to think about it. It caught me off guard a little bit. Like, what do you mean, why? It's exercise. She goes, okay, but why exercise? Right? Mm-hmm. I was like, look, I exercise because I like to be healthy. I like to stay in shape. Mm-hmm. And because it's a good way for me to keep discipline on myself. Right? To keep discipline in the sense of I'll do it even when I don't want to do it.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's late.
Like yesterday, my legs, we did legs on Thursday. My legs were sore and I still went for a long run. Right? Especially right here where I live, it's all uphill to come back to my house.
Yeah.
6 miles. I did a little over 6 miles. So, yesterday, it takes mental fortitude, right?
Yeah.
And so I told them, I was like, look, honestly, is to keep me in shape, healthy, but it's a good way to keep the discipline on myself. Mm-hmm. To remember that.
Hold yourself self-accountable. Accountability.
If I constantly do things that are hard, when hard things come, they don't seem that hard. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not that they don't seem hard. The mountain, the fear, or the anxiety you feel of something hard it's not as bad anymore. Because you're like, I'm used to doing these hard things all the time. You just have you find the step. You just got to take the first step and do it, right?
Yeah.
It was crazy. She was like, man, I should get back. I should stop smoking. I'm like, she goes, what do you think? I said, look, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to tell you
how to live your life.
To stop smoking. I don't tell people to smoke or not smoke. Like, if you ask me and you want to quit smoking or you think you're thinking about it, what's my opinion? I'll give you my opinion.
Obviously.
For me, but I'm not going to push how I live my life onto other people without them asking me, right?
You're not going to push your beliefs on somebody else?
Yeah, I'm not going to push my beliefs.
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Sounds like it.
Right? And it's not something you come across, right?
No,
it's the time. And she offered, she was like, oh, I'll cash app you for the gas. I was like, no, don't even worry about it. I'm giving you a ride because I'm going to be a good person.
Yeah.
She was even, let me go inside and let me thank your wife and whatnot. She goes, I was like, no, don't worry about it. Let me just take you. Like, my wife, she knows I told her. And anyways, she's sick. So, it's okay.
Yeah.
And my son just went to sleep, so. But
Yeah, the dog barks.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so. But yeah, it's definitely one of those. Reminds me of one of those scenes you see in a movie where it's lower, affluent, like a less affluent community, or someone
No,
goes
no,
up from
it's
the
just
ghetto.
less, like, I feel like it was more or less educated.
Less educated, right? And they find themselves in a situation, and somebody helps them out, and for all you know, it could be a turning point in their life.
Yeah, she told me I should be a counselor.
That's funny.
She said, because she asked me a bunch of things. She goes, why this or that, or like, how are your parents still together? Like, and then she mentioned problems. And it got into other subjects of problems right now. I was like, look, I feel like sometimes people have problems because they stop, when they become an adult, or they didn't become an adult, they stop growing or trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that you should understand that in this life, you're born to constantly learn and better yourself.
Well, yeah, stagnation is, is death. Like once the day you think you're good enough is the day you'll stop being.
And that's why she
good.
told me.
You need to continue to.
That's
improve.
what she told me, because she said, she was like, "How do you do?" I was like, "I listen to audiobooks. I try to read some books. I don't like reading that much, but I try to read books. I listen to audiobooks, definitely." Right.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Man, you thought about being a counselor?" She goes, "People would listen to you." Right. And it reminded me, I'm like, man, I didn't think that people would listen to me, right? Because I'm hanging out with all these people that do these things or aren't that uneducated, or that, like in that stuck in that life. And I'm like, why would people listen to me? It pictures you that there's another world in the world, right?
Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up.
But you forget about that.
It's really easy to get caught up in your
because we used to
in
live,
your own world.
We used to live with a bunch of people like that. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
and you used to associate with a bunch of people like that. Like
yeah.
it's really easy to forget that there are. Maybe your problems are, for lack of a better term, first world problems,
Mm-hmm.
And there's other people, in maybe 15, 20-mile radius from you that are experiencing, significantly different problems more akin to just survival.
She asked me at the end why I gave her a ride, and I said, because I believe in treating people how I want to be treated. Yeah. If I'm ever stranded somewhere and I need a ride, I would hope to God that somebody would give me a ride.
Yeah.
Like, because I have been stranded.
Being stranded fucking sucks.
I have been stranded, and I have gotten rides, and it's not easy to get somebody to give you a ride.
No, it's not.
Right? And even my wife asked me, why are you giving her a ride? I said, because she needs a ride. Why not? I'm going to be a decent human being. I don't see that. Because if I was in her shoes, I want a ride, and I've been in those shoes, and I've gotten a ride. And I've been in those shoes and not gotten a ride. It's bad. I had to run. Remember when Dad went to jail for the logbooks?
Yeah, I remember.
I had to go to jail, right? I had to get a ride. I had to park the truck because there's no place to park the truck over there. Park it at a truck stop, and then I got a ride over there to the jail. I had to run back
in the Arizona heat.
I had to know in the nighttime. In Arizona, off the 40, there is no, and some of those there's no connection between the next street, the next freeway exit to the next freeway exit, or the connection is miles down. I had to run on the freeway back to the truck to go to sleep, and then the next day I had to get a taxi to go pick him up from jail because they released him the next day.
Yeah, man.
Like, I've been in those situations, and I know it sucks, bro.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I was like, that's why I'm giving it right. I believe in treating people the way I want to be treated.
Yeah.
And for me, it's worked out great.
I agree. You want to... You get what you put out in this life, I feel like. So you treat people well and decently as a human being, you treat them how, you would like to be treated, a majority of the time, you're going to receive that same respect and treatment in return. Obviously, it won't always work because you can't control people.
Well,
but I think we can end the podcast on the fact that, if there's anything you take away from, our conversations here, is that you should treat others how you want to be treated, not because, it's going to benefit you, but just because it's the humanitarian thing to do,
Yeah.
You're not gonna gain anything from being an asshole, right?
I mean, you may gain some things in the short term,
right? But yeah, it's
you gain more with sugar than with spice, right? And it's like it is. Like you said, you get what you put out. You put out happiness. You are a happy person. You're vibing. You positive. That's what you tend to receive back.
Yep.
And it's actually beautiful. It's amazing.
Yep. All right, guys. That's all the time we have for today.
We'll see you guys next week.
Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah. And leave a comment.
Like, subscribe.